Um. Just as Jin-Woo looked up, he called out to the system. 97th floor. The numbers ticked by 97, 98. Finally, Jin-Woo had what he needed to enter the Demon Monarch's domain. Item. Entry permits. This permit lets you access the 100th floor of the demon's castle. It only works on the magic teleportation circle, on the 99th floor. Jin-Woo couldn't believe how much he'd been through to get this. He checked his status one last time before stepping onto the 100th floor, where the Demon Monarch was waiting for him. A level 93 Jin-Woo was almost at level 100. The final showdown was just around the corner. Jin-Woo could feel the power surging through him. His strength was off the charts, and his senses were on high alert. He was ready for anything. He quickly opened the shop menu to restock. With his energy and magic refilled, he grabbed some potions and extra bandages. Wrapping the bandages around his hands while gripping his daggers tightly, he made sure he had a solid hold. No way was he letting go now. This kind of excitement was new for him. He hadn't felt this pumped up in ages. After wrapping his bandages, Jin-Woo started warming up. After whoosh. Us tent. Not bad. He slowly picked up speed, his moves sharp and precise. Faster. And even faster. Before long, he was moving so quickly, it seemed like he left behind a trail of blurs before stopping suddenly. Puff steam rose from his shoulders. He'd warmed up enough. Jin-Woo finished getting ready. Woo. He took a deep breath, then stepped onto the teleportation circle. As usual, the circle asked where he wanted to go. And Jin-Woo replied firmly, floor 100. In an instant, everything around him changed. Jin-Woo looked around. There was no fire here. The lower floors had been covered in flames, but now only a few traces of fire remained. The air felt cooler without the heat. He looked up to see something falling from the sky. Snow, he wondered. But when he stretched out his hand, it didn't melt like snow should. Instead, it stayed solid in his palm. He leaned in closer. It wasn't snow at all. It was ash. Dark, flaky bits were floating down like tiny fiery snowflakes. Just then, a familiar electronic chime cut through the air. Tosserman's small black dot appeared in the distance, growing bigger by the second, as it hurtled toward him. As it swooped down closer to the ground, the creature landed far away from Jin-Woo. It looked like a giant lizard with wings. After landing, the lizard spread its huge wings and let out a loud, creaky rip behind its head. Jin-Woo noticed something strange. A blue demon's face. On top of this dragon-like creature sat a figure in shiny, royal armor, riding it like a majestic steed. 4 words hung in the air above the rider. Balin the Demon Monarch. He was super powerful energy, just poured out of him. Jin-Woo wiped the sweat from his brow. Balin was definitely the kind of boss you'd expect in a huge final dungeon. Then Jin-Woo noticed something else. Balin the lizard Balin was riding, had a name too. Hassan the Wyvern. A wyvern. It didn't look like a demon, based on its name and appearance. Wait, if it's not a demon, maybe I can't do something with it. Jin-Woo had given up hope of getting a useful shadow from this dungeon, since the system wouldn't let him extract anything from the demons he'd defeated. But a monster that could fly. That would be awesome. Jin-Woo really wanted this one. It reminded him of Barca, the leader of the Ice Slayers. He was determined to get its shadow, no matter what it took. Suddenly, Balin stretched his hand toward the sky. A message flashed. Balin the Demon Monarch has used skill. Army of Hell. Army of Hell. Then came more alerts. Ifing. Peng. Daimon soldiers have been summoned. Demon Knights have been summoned. Demon Knights have been summoned. With each warning, more demons appeared, forming a massive army around Balin. Whoa, talk about an army. The final demon count was way more than 1,000. Jin-Woo smirked as he showed just how strong he really was. Balin dropped his arm pointing at Jin-Woo, and the dark wave of demons surged forward. Thump. Thump. The ground shook under their pounding feet. Jin-Woo sneered, eyeing the advancing horde. I've got my own army right here, he muttered under his breath. My shadows. In an instant, Jin-Woo's shadow began stretching out from beneath him as he turned on Monarch's domain. The moment the Demon Monarch soldiers stepped into his shadowy territory, Jin-Woo gave the command, assemble. In a flash, shadowy warriors burst out of the ground, ready to fight. The enemy forces were in chaos. Jin-Woo could sense their panic. Ah! They screamed. Greya. Two towering knights, Iron and Tank, saw their chance and charged forward like freight trains. Crash! They plowed into the enemy lines, sending dozens of demons flying. The battlefield erupted with shouts and growls. Krea! 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 The two powerhouses were unstoppable. A wave of over 100 shadow soldiers charged in. Among them was Igris, the star of the show. With a smooth flip over Iron's head, he landed on the ground and started swinging his swords, taking down demons left and right. The air filled with sharp cries like "Kree Geek" and "Go" as demons fell, one by one. It was textbook moves from an elite knight rank, but Igris wasn't the only top-tier fighter around. Jin-Woo glanced to one side, noticing someone else who seemed just as skilled. Fang, now bigger than ever, stepped confidently onto the battlefield like he owned the place. Jin-Woo grinned proudly, watching his partner shine. Woo! Fang took a big breath, and his chest stuck out like a balloon. Jin-Woo pulled back his shadowy troops so Fang could let loose without holding anything back. Hold on to your seat. The soldiers who had been hiding in the shadows started moving in the direction Jin-Woo pointed. Then, chow! A massive wave of fire shot out of Fang's mouth, turning the demons into ashes instantly. But Fang wasn't done yet. Chowush! He swung his head from side to side, sending flames roaring everywhere. The demons caught in the inferno didn't even have time to scream before they were gone. Some of Jin-Woo's shadow soldiers got caught in the middle of Fang's attack, but they could just regrow later. Yes. Jin-Woo pumped his fist excitedly. His small group of soldiers, around 100, beat way more enemies, like 10 times more. The demon army was getting totally smashed, but just then Balin, who'd been super quiet till then, decided to act. His mouth stretched wide open, showing off bright blue sparks, zapping inside. Then he let out a loud roar. Gransala. The shadow soldiers were covered in a spooky blue glow. Suddenly a massive boom shook everything. Crack-a-woom. Jin-Woo's eyes popped wide with surprise. Lightning, he wondered aloud. The soldiers caught in the blue storm were fried in an instant. Anyone who saw it happen froze in shock. This wasn't normal lightning. Balan's lightning was super powerful and could stun anyone. It hit, spreading chaos all around. What kind of lightning was this? The blue storm crackled with fiery energy, heading straight for Jin-Woo. But he didn't flinch. The robe of wind wrapped around him like a shield. The flames danced across the fabric, but couldn't touch him. The robe soaked up all the fire, keeping him safe. A message flashed in his mind. Her regular status removed by immunity. And it happened again and again, each warning flickering away as his protection held strong. With a confident dash, Jin-Woo sprinted toward Balin, ready to face whatever came next. Balan's magic covered a huge area, and if Jin-Woo didn't act fast, things could go really wrong. Balan turned toward him. Then a loud roar erupted. Growls of blue sparks shot out like hail, flying every which way. Crack, crack, crack. Growls of Balan stumbled back as Jin-Woo stood there, untouched by the direct hits. Jin-Woo could tell the monster was getting rattled. In a flash, Jin-Woo zoomed in on Balin using his super speed move at full power. With one big jump, he closed the gap between them. Balin quickly pulled out his sword, ready for battle. Jin-Woo swung Barca's dagger with all his might. Ealing, the powerful clash sent shockwaves through both fighters. Balin lost his grip on his dragon and tumbled to the ground, while Jin-Woo stumbled backward from the force of the hit. Both warriors struggled to their feet at the same time, ready to keep fighting. They locked eyes for a moment before charging at each other with all their might. Grammel roared, sparks flying from his mouth. The ground shook with each step. Boom! Boom! Jin-Woo sprinted forward, bathed in blue light, trusting the robe to protect him. But something felt off. Was it getting hotter? He glanced back and saw flames licking at the edge of his robe. He quickly yanked it off and tossed it aside. Guess that thing had hit its limit. It was just a man-made item, but it lasted longer than he'd thought. Now everything depended on Jin-Woo. Jin-Woo gulped hard. A loud roar echoed through the air. The monster, seeming to sense its chance, flared up the flames in its mouth, making them wild and fierce. Jin-Woo focused his senses sharply. I can do this, he told himself. No, more than that, he had to do this. Time seemed to slow down around him, and he dodged the streaks of blue flashing toward him with ease. But why was this happening? Then, crack, and memories from his days in the demon's castle surged back as Balin closed in. As Jin-Woo dodged another bolt of lightning, the sound echoed through the air, but his heart pounded quietly in his chest. Thump thump thump, as he barely avoided Balin's attacks, missing them by just a hair's breadth. Finally, he stood face to face with his enemy. In that moment, Jin-Woo realized why those memories of Demon's Castle had flashed through his mind earlier. It wasn't just random, it was a sign of gratitude. A deep thank you welled up inside him. He was thankful for the strength he'd been given, strength that allowed him to fight such an incredible monster and survive against all odds. Jin-Woo had been getting stronger with each floor he cleared. It was as if he'd been preparing for this exact moment. Now, things that were once impossible seemed easy. How could he not feel thankful? Stroke. Balin swung his sword down, but Jin-Woo was ready. With Barca's dagger in his right hand, Jin-Woo blocked the attack. Then with a swift strike from Night Killer in his left hand, he stabbed Balin in the shoulder. Ta-shruck. The dagger had been made to pierce armor, so it dug deep into Balin's shoulder. Balin didn't make a sound, but Jin-Woo could tell he was in agony. With a quick pull, Jin-Woo yanked Night Killer back out. Sparks flew from Balin's eyes like blazing fury as he shot Jin-Woo a deadly glare. The monster's heavy, ragged breaths filled the air. With a sudden burst of speed, Balin lunged at Jin-Woo. Their weapons clashed in a flurry of strikes, Jin-Woo's daggers flashing against Balin's sword. Each blow left deep wounds on both fighters. Clang, 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 clang. Every time their magic-powered weapons met, the ground cratered beneath them. Jin-Woo gritted his teeth. His shoulder was a mess of blood and pain. But Balin was living up to his terrifying reputation as the demon monarch. Jin-Woo's wrists were starting to hurt. If he kept going, things were about to get a whole lot tougher. He needed to throw Balin off balance fast. Both of them had two hands, but Jin-Woo had one more trick up his sleeve. Balin dropped to one knee like an invisible punch had hit him square in the chest. Before he could even figure out what happened, Jin-Woo threw a solid punch right to his face. Tap to am? Up to Balin stumbled back about 10 meters before he finally managed to stop himself. But he couldn't get back up. Jin-Woo was already pinning Balin down. The monster opened his mouth super wide, but the Demon King couldn't use his lightning attack, because Jin-Woo had stuffed his right fist into Balin's mouth to block it. Balin's eyes shook in surprise. Instead of using the dagger in his hand, Jin-Woo pulled back his fist and swung it hard. Wham, 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 wham. With his superhuman strength over 200 points, Jin-Woo smashed away at the boss monster's health bar, like it was made of clay. Jin-Woo focused all his energy into his raised right hand. Tumble call, whoosh. His shoulder and arm muscles popped out, and the air around him felt heavy, like a big storm cloud was pressing down. The magic from his right arm spread out, making everything super quiet for a second. In that short moment of silence, Jin-Woo looked down at Balin and said in a soft voice, "Thanks for everything." Of course there was no reply, but then, nothing. The demon monarch shot Jin-Woo, a fierce look filled with anger. "I guess you'll never understand what I mean," he growled, but Jin-Woo didn't care. He had said what he needed to say, and now it was time to finish things. With one final swing of his weapon, the master of Demon's Castle fell to the ground. Right away, some exciting messages popped up with that familiar electronic sound. You two have defeated Balin, the demon monarch. You have acquired Balin's soul. You have completed quest. Collect demon souls too. You have leveled up. You have leveled up. You have leveled up. You have leveled up. Suddenly Jin-Woo felt a surge of power.